Good morning, everyone, wherever you may be. This is Father Fidel, broadcasting from Lee, Florida, as usual, from the Father Paul Hall Memorial Chapel. Thanks for being with us this morning on the 25th Sunday of Ordinary Time, 2025. A few thoughts on the Gospel for today. Let me share that with you, the brief version. It's from Luke 6:10 through 13. As Jesus said to his disciples, "The person who is trustworthy in very small matters is also trustworthy in great ones. And the person who is dishonest in very small matters is also dishonest in great ones. If therefore you are not trustworthy with dishonest wealth, who will trust you with true wealth? If you are not trustworthy with what belongs to another, who will give you what is yours? No servant can serve two masters. He will either hate one and love the other, or be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and mammon." It's a brief gospel passage to share with you this morning, but it's one filled with a great deal of symbolism and importance and wisdom. In today's age, in our secular age, especially for those that work out in the world, and really don't follow something in the way of a strict monastic kind of lifestyle, you rub elbows with all kinds of temptation. And the temptation comes in many forms and many varieties. Your buddy at work, perhaps, or your neighbor, or your boss, could be your pastor, who knows? But the temptation comes in, or clients, for instance, businesses that you patron, and vice versa. It comes in many ways, in many walks of life, in many guises. And its worst, it's the building bone for sin, and at worst, twice over, evil. Usually it's not quite that grave, and certainly, hopefully not for you. But temptation tends to build on itself. And stewardship, which is what this gospel sort of in part deals with, is a God-given right and duty. In other words, what you do with what is your own, and what you do, even more importantly, with what is others. And the others would be those on earth, which is mammon, if you will, and the ultimate judge of what you do with your stewardship is God, obviously, who's created all that we use, that we are around, and that we are in. And I think that's one of the main meanings of this brief gospel passage this morning. Stewardship is the concept that what you're given, you use, and what you produce, you use wisely, and for the good of yourself, certainly, but more importantly, that of others. Wealth in itself is nothing bad. It's what you put it to use for. And I think what the good Lord is speaking to us this morning through Scripture is that we need to use it as He would want us to use it. That's the ultimate guide, the stewardship of our own and other people's gifts, skills, and also monetary wealth in its different guises. Along the way of that stewardship, as I said earlier, we're faced with temptations. Whether it's the lawyer who's asked to do things that, are on the borderline of his or her ethics rules, let alone the law. Or it's the priest or the pastor in terms of how they counsel someone, and so on. Or simply a boss in terms of how he or she treats their underlings, their employees. All of these things are forms of stewardship. It's not just wealth. It's essentially gifts, your skills, your gifts, your soul that God has given you. We are supposed to use it for the good of creation. And that includes all of us, not just for the accumulation of wealth. You see, Jesus's gospel was and still remains a very radical one. It certainly isn't the life that most of us lead, and it certainly isn't the world that most of us live in. So when you're faced with issues such as, what do I do with this? Think of what he asks you of in terms of your good stewardship. As I remember, someone mentioned, who was swearing in for me, that you will face many temptations, but if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Too many of us sell our souls, essentially or literally, to mammon versus God. You'll be faced with those choices. Be a good steward. God bless. Take care. This is Father Fidel. LSCC, Swanee Missions.